Hola, minasan! Welcome back for another round of Story Talk. How y'all doing today? I hope y'all having a great time. Today we're going to be talking about world building, doing a little world building. Something that I was training myself on for many years. And was able to flesh out the world of the Impossible Man, among other things, and working on my latest world build within my novel Trucker no Boken, which is available on shosetsu.com in Japanese and English. Rough drafts, they're rough drafts. I'm still trying to trying to work that whole thing out, but it was because of Trucker no Boken that I thought about doing this segment here, because Trucker no Boken is an isekai. It's an isekai story. The entire first book is done. You know what I'm saying? And I'm trying to work on the second book. But the thing is that being that it's an isekai, that means it's an entirely new world. And so I'm kind of putting my world building skills to the test here, where the Impossible Man is set in one whole city, and thus have it more self-containment. I'm not just only building an entire continent in Trucker no Boken, but an entire world, literal planet. We're not going to cover, even though I'm not going to cover the entire planet. The point is that planet is part of the whole thing, and so basically world building is not just only about maps. You're talking about building societies, politics, religion, lore, history. um, you know what I'm saying? There's a whole lot of stuff, social stuff. You know what I'm saying? What characters think of each other, what they eat, culture. It's a very daunting task. Usually when you write, it just flows naturally if you know what you're writing. But sometimes you want to um, really want to encapsulate your story and world with world building. One good example of excellent world building is Babylon 5 by J. Michael Straczynski. Classic series. I highly recommend watching it. Wherever you can find it. I don't know if it's on Netflix or anything, but definitely suggest watching it. He really put that close to the sleeve. A very rare thing for producers and TV show creators to be able to pull off, and maintaining the whole serialization. But basically, the way he created his world, his galaxy, because it's a whole freaking galaxy that he was dealing with. He took into account of alien cultures, but not just only the way they're alien cultures, but the concept of atmosphere, um, because not all alien races breathe oxygen. They breathe other types of gases, and so Babylon 5, the titular location, had to have locations that cater to those atmospheres, and that added to the fascination. Um, but another thing that was excellent was that not all alien races were bipedal. There were aliens that were multipedal. There was one that looked like a slug in Babylon 5. So it really showed that not everything is a planet of hats like Star Trek tends to do. And Star Trek is trying their best to not go, break away from that, but they're still stuck with the planet of hats. Everybody's all bipedal and just wearing a rubber forehead. So, basically, one of the big challenges that I had last year when I was working on Trucker No Boken was building the world. I had to figure out the placement of countries, cities, what kind of people are going to be on there. And I do feel like I overdid it in the first draft, but that's good. You know what I'm saying? This draft that I have in Shosetsu, it is a good thing, because you want to get everything out of your head, and then you want to start cutting it down, and that's what's going to start happening. And that's what I'm trying to do with the new draft, is cutting down the number of races and so on. Trying to refine the rules of the planet itself with its atmosphere and so on. And and lore. Saying like along the way, I just kept adding and adding as I kept adding new chapters and putting in new chapters. But I need to start parsing that down a bit and get it more focused and centralized. And one way I can look for help, it happens to be a book that a colleague of mine recommended in my early days of writing. That's World of Wonder by David Gerald. Very well known, very very. I don't want to say well known writer. He's more than well known. He's like one of the top tier writers. But he wrote a whole book on world building, and I haven't read this in so long, quite honestly. And it's a lot to read here, but I figure I'd use it as a reference, like an encyclopedia. If there's something that I need to it, but he's got he talks about things like what is science fiction, what is fantasy, the difference between the two, what a story is, what I'm saying, how to set the stage, how to build the world, what I'm saying, things like transformations, what I'm saying, like there's a whole lot, and it's more than just. Oh wow, that's a lot of chapters. I forgot that there was a lot of chapters. 800 words. Wow. Excuse me. I am so sorry for that. But yeah, this is it doesn't just cover world building, but how to do writing, and in the context of world building. And yeah, I do recommend this. This is a pretty good book. This is a pretty good book if you're a fantasy science fiction writer and you're trying to build worlds and galaxies and so on, multiverses. Um, so but another thing that I've been thinking of doing and would like to do is get into World Anvil. This is a tool, that website that was created for world building. So if you want to do wiki articles, interactive maps, novel writing, like in my case, this is the thing. You get to draw out your worlds like this, and you can make them interactive. You can explain to people what's going on, build your lore and everything. It's pretty cool. This is a pretty cool looking site here. Let's see here, and be able to provide timelines and history. It's very um, comprehensive. It's very comprehensive and a great way to organize everything. I mean, look at this. They even do family. You can even do family trees, organization charts, diplomacies. Uh, so this is great for game masters, writers, creative people, role players. But we're gonna look at the one for the writer. Let's see what they got to say on this here. So you create your world Bible, manage your plots and characters. Oh, and look at that. You could publish and monetize your way. Interesting. That's actually interesting. So, like, we'll provide you with all the writing tools you need. Organize your series Bible, write and publish your novel in our novel writing software. Oh, that's really cool that they offer this. Because I heard that does help for writers. I didn't know that they go this far. So yeah, if you're a writer, this looks like a good spot. This looks like a good spot. So yeah, I was thinking of doing live streams of the world build. Saying, well, not live streams. Well, do videos. Do videos of world building Trucker No Boken as I move the story along. Mm. But most importantly, try and rework that first book, because the second book right now is got a few chapters in. Well, not that's not true. So the chapters that I have in were from the first book, but I pushed that over into the second book, so I could keep the first book more focused and centralized. So I'm trying. So now I just need to do more drafts to parse it down and straighten it out and everything. But here's the thing about world building. And I saw a video. And I saw this YouTube video that did a great job talking about world building. Let me see if I can yank this up here. Let's see. World building. There we go. Let's see here. What were they called? The Fantasy. No, Fantasy Forge? Was that them? No, that wasn't them. No, here he is. Tail Foundry. That's it. Tail Foundry. This guy's pretty cool. Uh, yeah, let me pause that. Yeah, don't want no copyright issues. Thank you very much. You see, like why magic systems don't feel magical, and this is where I got the recommendation for Anvil because they were sponsored by them, by World Anvil. But these guys are pretty good. This guy's pretty good. He explains everything about writing and also stories. So like the King in Yellow or the Back Rooms, as well as talking about writing styles and everything. And that includes also world building. Chill beats for world building and writing. He did a playlist. um, he's definitely an advocate for world building from a storytelling perspective, and I definitely would recommend watching his videos. He's pretty good. So it was from here that I found out about World Anvil, and and one of the things that Tail Foundry warned though is to be very careful not to, lean too far on one side of world building because you could lose sight of your plot. Just like not to ignore world building because you could lose sight of having fleshed out characters and such. It makes sense with where he's coming at. So yeah, they got some features here, but yeah, like I said, I'm not gonna click on the videos. Let's see here. World build quickly and easily, and then never lose an idea. A complete novel writing software, which is very fascinating. That they even have that. Manuscripts are complete. Novel writing software is custom designed to help you plot, write, and edit your books and novels. So yeah. So the thing about world building is you can see here. This is perfect. You get to not just only outline your maps. You get to put where your water's at, your riverways, your roads, what countries, where the boundaries are at with the countries. And I tried doing that in Trucker No Boken. I felt like I didn't do a good job describing the world map in text, which is why I was thinking of this, of doing a map design, so I can, especially for me, especially when I'm writing, so I'll know where I'm putting everything in relation. This was an issue that I had with the Impossible Man, because I didn't factor I didn't factor in the blueprints of the building. So the building is one of the North American hybrid, U.S. hybrid um, apartments with a storefront. So you have like a storefront at the bottom, and then you have apartments next to it and above it. And the problem is that when I thought it over, I realized I realized that the apartment and the store overlapped each other. It was the I didn't factor in when with the way that I had the rooms laid out that it was overlapping the store. So I had to rewrite. I had to rewrite the whole thing to clarify where everything was at, and I had to move the bedroom to another section. So in a sense, which means that the apartment is a lot smaller, and the other apartments are a little bigger. So that's one of the things I was thinking of doing. Maybe like one of the first things I'll do with this interactive map is do Denfair City. Start off on a small scale because I wanted to do that. Make a city map to place everything for the book, and also do the blueprints for the store and apartment building that the characters are living in, so we can get an idea of where everything is at in relation to what I described, which is not going to be pretty. But this is why when it comes to laying out maps and everything, in world building, you gotta be very attentive of what you're describing because you could accidentally find that you're putting you're putting the apartment over the store, literally inside the store, and vice versa, like I did. and, but in terms of world building, don't don't make the mistake of thinking world building it's just only the maps. You have to make sure you have cultures and such. J.R.R. Tolkien did another good job with that one, where we saw the culture of the hobbits in relation to the culture of the elves and the humans, as well as the dwarves. The dwarves live underground, and we see their culture of loving money and so on. We see that the hobbits are carefree farmers, and everybody celebrates the birthday, and somehow they're all related to each other. I don't know how. So I definitely look at this here. Put your book's history in order, which actually is another thing that's very important in the world build with Trucker No Boken, because there is, at the very least, 500 years of history that I'm working with, um, for good reason. For a good reason, because it's in relation to Earth. So um, that's another tricky order to make sure that the history lines up with regards to the map, because what happens in the history in Trucker No Boken does affect the map lines, the boundaries and the borders, and that's gonna be it's a very tough task. I'm up to the challenge. So you just gotta make sure that when you're writing your history, gotta remember that maps do change, borders change. Sometimes even landscapes can change due to natural disasters, you know, or some natural event like an earthquake or something. It could just send something into the sea. So I was hoping that maybe one give these guys a try. Look at this here. They're recommended by these guys here. I don't know who these guys are. Mostly tabletop gamers. Okay. Mostly tabletop gamers, but yeah. But the key thing though is that if I do make videos with of Trucker No Boken world building, they'll most likely be spoilers. um, so yeah, I guess same with the Impossible Man, because many of you need to buy my book. Y'all need to go and buy my book. Just go into the main website in the description below, and you'll find links to the Impossible Man and other merch, as well as Trucker No Boken if you wanna check it out in Shisetsu, both in English and Japanese available. So I know that was a shameless plug, wasn't it? Shameless. I have no shame. So, uh, let's see here. Let's take a quick look into Mr. Gefford's book here. Um, oh, this is interesting. So, there are let's just do a quick brief here. With science fiction, there are two parts to a science fiction story. One is science, the other is fiction, and the excitement is in the mix. That's fascinating. Mm. Most science fiction stories are about intelligent folks dealing with an unknown phenomenon. During the course of the story, the reader discovers the nature of that phenomenon. Whatever it is in that regard, a science fiction story is a lot like a murder mystery. We follow the detective as he figures out who the killer is. Only in science fiction, the mystery involves much more than a dead body on the living room floor. The mystery is some facet of the universe that we haven't yet included in our maps. That's an interesting take. Um, and here's the one on fantasy. So science fiction is about what's possible. Fantasy is about what's not. Fantasy is harder. So that's an interesting take there. So where science fiction has a foundation rooted in scientific knowledge of the real world, fantasy seems to have no such grounding at all, which is kind of true. Although I that one of the hard things that I had with Trucker No Boken when I was trying to put tags up on Shisetsu is that even though it's isekai, there is science involved along with fantasy. So it's more like science fantasy. It's a science fantasy novel, which is a very rare thing. But I kind of leaned the tags more to fantasy, even though there's science involved. a lot of science. Well, like I put science into the fantasy. Like there's a science behind the fantasy, so to speak, but still mysterious in a lot of ways because there's still a lot of questions. As with science, um, as with science, it's always there's always more questions than answers. That's the one thing people forget about science, especially when it comes to doing science fiction or when people want to write and keep things grounded, you know. And then you have those who are like, "Oh no, don't reveal the things because you'll ruin the mystique and fantasy." The thing is that there's always science, and no matter what, um, you can't unless it's a primitive world where people are ignorant of science. There's always going to be some level of science, and there's always going to be researchers, enabling the science behind things. And the one thing that has to be understood, uh, welcome Tech 120. One of the things that has to be understood when it comes to um, science is that there's always more questions than answers. And as long as you remember that, you're people. Yes, you are people. How you doing, Tech? So, for you writers out there, because there's a lot of people who say, when it comes to fantasy, don't reveal the magic because always remember this maxim. Um, there's always more questions than answers. So even if you reveal um, some type of reveal the magic system, be sure you don't make it an absolute answer. Make sure that there's more questions within the context of the world. Remember, your characters in your stories don't know, saying, don't know you exist. They don't know that we're watching them. They don't know we exist. There's a fourth wall for a reason. They, saying they're their own people, they're their own agency, and as long as you can write them in that manner, you can reveal, the fantasy and still have the characters, ask more questions about it. And that's perfectly fine. It's a little finessing there, but it is doable and it is possible. Saying because I had that criticism with Arcana Magi. I was like revealing the magic system, and they're like, "No, don't reveal the magic system. You ruin the mystique." But the thing is that the characters that we're revealing that were scientists, and they had more questions than answers, and so that's the approach that I go with when I do magic systems. I don't treat it, I don't treat the revelation as some kind of absolute thing, but as asking, like answering the why or the how, but never answering all of the other questions. You have your five, W's: what, where, when, why. What I'm saying? If you only reveal just answer one of those questions and not all of the questions, you're fine. Because you gotta remember your characters don't know we exist. So in their eyes, they're like, oh, okay. So now that I know the why, I need to know the answer of what or when. You know what I mean? So as long as your characters are not getting all the answers, then it doesn't matter. What you're revealing. I meant to finish reading this. I went into I went into a tangent. So yeah, according to the book, where science fiction has a foundation rooted in the science knowledge of the real world, fantasy seems to have no such grounding. Fantasy looks like the abandonment of the laws of science. The map says, "Here there be dragons," meaning all previous statutes are null and void. They no longer apply. They've been repealed. So yeah, this is what to expect from World of Wonder. This is actually a pretty good world building book. And yeah, I definitely going to see about signing up for this for World Anvil and do some shows on that. It'll be pretty fun. Building my story worlds. So, all right. So that's what I got to say on world building. You know, it's a fun thing to do as a writer. It's really awesome when you know, mapping out the world and everything and building the lore and everything. And I do strongly encourage many all of you writers out there to do that. All right, so thank you all for joining me. Be sure to comment below on what you think about world building and your world building thoughts. And with all that said, I wish you all a good night, buenas noches, and oyasumi nasai.